Welcome to the MMA Roadshow, episode number 484. My name is John Morgan, and cold coffee is with me, more or less, on this special 4th of July edition of the MMA Roadshow. That's right, it's a holiday, and most other people are taking off and enjoying themselves and doing. But we know we're committed to the game, and we're also a day late because I was doing family stuff, so we had to go on 4th of July. So I won't pat myself on the back too much. It's my fault that we're working on a holiday.
Yeah, that's all right. You know, it's one of the little things we have to do for America. You know, it's our patriotic duty to do this to our listeners and to do whatever. And honestly, I got the whole day off after this, so I'm just gonna be running around, so it doesn't bother me any.
I love it. I love it. So we'll lay it out. First of all, you should be thankful that you were out of Las Vegas right now. My God, bro, they're talking about seriously maybe the hottest day on record in the history of Las Vegas. So the highest in the history of Las Vegas. Right, so the highest it's ever been is 117, I believe, and they're saying it may get up to 118 this weekend. In fact, they were saying Death Valley may end up being the highest recorded temperature ever, like on planet Earth. Like it's supposed to get up into like the high 130s, like up to like 138 or something like that. Yeah,
they call that certain Death Valley. Like if you go, you're going to certainly die if you're in that valley.
Are going to die. That's crazy. So I'm good on you to get out.
That's crazy.
Of Las Vegas. I will say real quick before we get into, obviously you're out in Anaheim, California, which is usually a lot cooler than 118 degrees. I did want to say real quick, I did have a great family time the past couple of days. So took a couple of days off, did a little staycation at the Palazzo. And then we went over to the Mirage. We saw the Beatles show one last time. It shuts down this weekend. July 6th, I think, is the last day for the Beatles Love show, which I'm sure they'll find another place for it, but it's a very specialized show. Like, it's a theater in the round, and the stage is moving. You know what I mean? You can't just take it and pick it up and put it into another theater or whatever. So, but I hope they'll find another place for it, man, because that show, if anybody's ever seen it, is phenomenal. It was great to see for one last time. But I want to be proud dad for a second here, man. I want to be proud papa, brag a little bit. First of all, we booked a really nice suite, but it was on sale. It was a Monday and Tuesday. Like, this is what I do, right? I like to do little staycations, but I'm not crazy spending like insane money. Like, I pay attention to, which hotels are having deals on, and you get emails and whatever else and sales. And for instance, we're staying at the Fontainebleau later this month, at the end of this month. But check this out. For a locals deal, the Fontainebleau, $125 a night with no resort fees. So I mean, like, I'm bargain shopping it. You see what I'm saying? I'm bargain shopping. But anyway, so we booked this suite here, super nice. The suite was so big, it had a piano in it, right? I mean, and I was just joking around. I'm like, hey, you're balling when you got the piano in there. You got the right one. But my kid, who has only sat down in front of a piano one other time ever, sat down in front of this piano and started playing it. Like, just, like, playing things started playing, like, Happy Birthday, and then I was joking with him. I played the opening to Runaway by Kanye, that little piano beat off the top of it, and he just, like, recreated it by ear and played it right there. So, I don't know, man. I was in awe. I was in awe of my son. It was the first time, like, I literally sat there and I was like, there's no way I could ever do this. I have no musical talent whatsoever, but I was taking so much joy and watching him do this. It was probably the highlight of the whole thing. We did a bunch of cool stuff, man. We got to hang out at the Palazzo. We went to the Mirage. We might have had a cocktail or two along the way. We did lots of fun things. But the highlight of the trip was watching my kid play piano, man. It was really, like, blowing my mind right in front of me.
That's awesome. That is so cool. Well, he's got to get it from somebody. So if it's not you, it's got to be from mom. I've heard her singing. I've heard her singing, so there's something to it. That's really cool. That's very,
so
very
true.
Cool.
Hey, you're seeing the musical talent in our family. We went out and did karaoke to celebrate your birthday, and you got to hear my wife sing. Now you're seeing all the musical talent in the Morgan family. And yes, it is not from me. I am not providing an ounce of that. I have zero musical talent whatsoever.
Well, it's funny because you said Runaway, and I was thinking of a completely different song. I would not know the beginning of Kanye's Runaway. I was literally thinking of that Run, 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 Run Away, something like it's an older song. And I was like, that's not how I remember it. But I was like, okay, cool, whatever. But then now that you say Kanye, I wouldn't have been able to pick it out. But still, that's awesome. Well, your kid, I mean, like, that's another instrument you got to get him now because I know he's got a guitar.
Yes, he does have a
little
guitar.
Keyboard. You can get a little keyboard or something.
That's what I was saying. And that my wife was saying the same thing. Like, give him a little keyboard to nurture that, to let him play. Like, obviously, we're not going to go out
Yeah,
and buy
you don't need to buy
piano.
piano. No, don't do that.
We're not
One,
doing that.
they take up a lot of space too. That one in that suite, I saw a picture. They're not small.
No.
But it's cool, man. Yeah, nurture that talent, man. Nurture it while it's there.
Got to. All right. I just had to play Proud Papa there for a second.
Yeah,
So,
that's pretty cool.
appreciate you being willing to work today so that I could have that family time to hang out and everything. So, 4th of July, you're working. We kind of didn't know this. It was kind of a last-second thing, right? We weren't sure that you were going to be there, but I guess you guys pulled the trigger last minute, and we didn't talk about it last week, but you're out in Anaheim, California for Masvidal versus Diaz. The boxing match takes place this Saturday. Before we get to that, though, I guess I did want to ask UFC 303. I haven't seen you since UFC 303. You were back there in the media tent. By the way, was it funny that Dana was just going off on the helicopters like he never has before?
I mean, he's went hard before, but that was the hardest I think that he's ever went off. Like, because we've heard him in the past sort of like just get triggered by it, and it is insane because it is. I sit out there all night long, and at that point when Dana comes, it's just must be the perfect time or whatever it is. That is the busiest with the helicopters. They don't come over like that earlier in the night. For some reason, that particular time, they seem to be either coming back from something or they seem to be doing some sort of thing. And then if you listen further, when the other fighters come after Dana, it's not as busy. There's just that initial period right then. For some reason, it's really, really busy, and you get a bunch of them in a row. But during the night, we don't have that problem.
You don't have
listen to our audio for the other stuff, and it's like there might be one that randomly comes through, but never to the point of like how that particular period is. So I wonder if we could. Not that I don't know how you check, like what's the flight pattern at this particular hour or something. Even though I'm sure there is a way to do it, like all the flight trackers that are out there in the world.
Oh yeah.
It was just crazy, but yeah, he's never went off like he was agitated or something. I mean, maybe because it happened before Kevin got him fired up. So I figured like he was already in a mood. But yeah, it was hilarious seeing him get so irate, just to the point where he couldn't keep talking. He just stopped and he was like, and he was just getting, as everybody likes to say, pink Dana or whatever. He was getting more irate and more irate, and it was just like. It was so funny to kind of watch it happen. Then it was just sort of comical because, I mean, granted he was losing his mind, but he was doing it in a funny way. He was still smiling. It wasn't like he was like pissed.
He wasn't really agitated. It was, and I've always assumed. It's weird that we're even talking about this, but I guess I've never talked about it before. I'm assuming that's the like the Maverick helicopters that do the tour down the strip, right? Like that's what it is, right? The nighttime tour.
Yeah, it's got to be. It's got to be those ones like if you're ever I assume the ones right by the sign, you see like a fleet of helicopters that are just right there parked next to it. I'm assuming they're going back over and
supposed to be a bunch of them
or doing something. Oh yeah, I mean it's that's why it must be a perfect time. Maybe there's a special like fountain thing that goes on at night around that time or something.
Yeah. Maybe so. That's interesting. But it's funny because over the years, I have always wondered if he'll just get so annoyed that he'll be like, can you guys move this thing inside because I'm so tired of hearing the helicopters? And I thought that Saturday night might be the night where he finally pushed it over the edge where he's like, we're moving this thing inside. Get rid of this effing tent. We're going to find some place. But anyway.
We were having issues with that tent anyways. Like the AC was like messed up in the front where most of us are sitting. It was super hot, but it was like they have the pipes in the back. And it's like every time they're always like, we're sorry, we're working on it. I was like, yeah, in another 4 years. He's like, I know. He's like, how long have we been doing this? And we still can't get this figured out. So yeah, the joys of the tent life, my life. The tent life.
Your life. All right. Well, I guess I just want to ask you, obviously we did break it down on a half episode, so I appreciate everybody that got that. But I just want to get your thoughts. Obviously, that's me rolling solo. Any big memories or things that are going to stick with you out of 303? I mean, obviously, Alex Pereira, dominance. I honestly do feel like it's so weird. Like, Magomed Ankalaev, no disrespect, man. I mean, that's the next guy at 205, but I just feel like all the energy right now is feeling like you want to see Alex Pereira at heavyweight. You know what I mean? And it's a weird time because you have a heavyweight title fight. You have an interim heavyweight title fight. So I don't even know where you would inject him into the picture right now. But I honestly feel like honestly, the biggest fight, no disrespect to Conor McGregor, big star, we're hoping to see him back, but I honestly feel like the biggest fight you can make right now in the UFC is John Jones versus Alex Pereira. Like, my mind needs to see this for some reason. So I don't know. What was your take out of 303?
That would be a huge fight, and that would be so interesting and so exciting to see. Man, there's a lot of quick little, I guess, storylines. I mean, like, you got the short notice fighters that had great fights and almost looked better prepared than the guys that were already scheduled for the fights. You know, all credit to Danny Gay for stepping up. And I mean, I think that was kind of a weird precedent, even though, you know, they try to sort of set it up like the precedent had already been there. You didn't see the broadcast, so no. I don't know if you heard this, but so right before when they were explaining it, they cut to Megan interviewing Jeff. What's the executive director's last name? Jeff Mullen. Jeff Mullen. And you never see him on a broadcast.
Ever.
So they bring him in there to talk about, like, so Jeff, you know, this is happening. And, you know, but Megan was like, you know, but this isn't the first time this has happened. You know, there's been a precedent before. I was like, oh my God.
There?
Like, they're just, I forget what he said. And because I tried to go back on the broadcast because it's not available yet. So I wasn't able to see what exactly he tried to list as the precedent. But I thought it was interesting that the UFC had this thing set up to say, like, you know, Megan, we're going to bring him on, you know, set up this whole precedent thing. I was like, yeah, because Megan's going to be talking about precedents in her interviews. I was like, please. It was so, like, set up to, like, try to establish that there was a reason for how they could do this without getting a bunch of flack. But regardless of the craziness that made that happen, I had no problem with them, you know, picking up a day up because the guy – all the blood work was done. All the other stuff was ready to go. So, I mean, the I's were dotted. The T's were crossed, you know, like it was just for another event.
And I just want to chime in on that because I 100% agree with you. I saw some people that were kind of up in arms. I can't believe the commission would allow this to happen. The important stuff is the medicals. And number two, it's not like if this was some random amateur just picking out of the crowd, you're like, how do we? I mean, this is Dan Ige, like, you know what I mean? Like, this is a professional training out of Extreme Couture who has fought many times in Nevada, whose dad is a Navy SEAL, and is, you know what I mean? Like, this dude is like, if somebody's gonna step in on short notice, like, that's the dude I'm not worried about at all. If it was some random
100%.
Amateur, I would say, yeah, this is a little bit irresponsible. How are you letting this guy step in and take a fight on no notice? But here, no problems. I just want to chime in on that because I agree with you 100%. No issues whatsoever.
And the guy's fight was like weeks away. Like, he's in prime form. So it wasn't like they took like a rusty guy. Like you said, the medicals was good. But, I mean, I think a lot of people, you know, immediately were writing him off going against Lopez. I mean, like, Lopez is a star that everybody's like thinking definitely future potential to be a champion. I mean, he's just a badass. I mean, like, he's just a fun guy to watch. I mean, he's a fun guy to hear. He's got funny hair, you know, and he's working on his English. I love it. So, I mean, he's doing the steps to make himself a potential star. So I thought that was a great fight. Roman Dolidze and Anthony Smith. I mean, credit to Dolidze coming in and looking great in that fight. You know, you saw by the end, Anthony Smith was kind of wearing down, looking tired. And it was just like, wow, who was prepared for this fight? You know, I mean, I think I give credit a lot of that to Dolidze's style. You know, I know some people were saying sort of the same sort of thing, saying like, oh, well, Roman looked better prepared. But I mean, I've seen Roman train, and I think I've told you stories of Roman going really hard in training, almost to the point where the team's like, bro, pull back, you know, like we got fighters going into, you know, fights in 3 days, like stop going like at 100%, you know, so the guy's used to doing that sort of stuff. So, you know, I think he's the one that made Anthony tire out because of his particular style. But, you know, credit for Anthony, you know, putting on a good fight, even though I think he had noticed a little bit longer than Roman did, or who knows? Maybe I'm getting
a little bit longer. Not
much. It wasn't much. But if you're stepping up and you're saying like if you're that guy saying like I'm the guy, I'll take anything. You need to be ready. You know, don't go in there and then be like I was sort of ready. But he still looked good. I still picked him. I was riding Anthony. The one that I picked him, because he's giving me shit when I didn't pick him before. This one I'm like, Team Smith, dog. Team Smith, you ain't going to get me picking against you. I pick him, and then it doesn't go the way. And I was like, damn it, Anthony, what are you doing to me?
Dude, so, you know what I was thinking as you were talking about the delete say, because you have told me that, and it's funny. dude, I wonder if Delitze and Strickland have done much sparring together, and if they have, like, what those sessions are like.
I
bet
saw
they.
the day that I was telling you about, where I saw them sort of have a little sit down with them. They didn't spar, but they were, sort of grappling at the end of the thing, and Strickland was putting it on him. But I think also too, because Strickland was getting ready to have like the sit down talk, so he was kind of big dogging him.
Yeah,
like settle down, like you're beating up on a smaller dude over there that's getting ready to go for a fight. I can give you a little something. I
love those gym
it was.
stories.
I was like, I'm not filming this, and here I am fucking telling this shit. Anyways, but I was like, this is gym shit. Like they need work. The shit takes care of itself. And so, but it was good. But I mean, again, that was just one little fraction of what could happen. Like what I happened to see right then. It wasn't both guys going 100%, but at that time, it looked like Strickland was getting the better of it. But say you watch 10 more times, it could be 50-50,
for sure.
So you can only take so much. Credit to Chasson, man. She was getting beat by MBS and then just literally spliced her head open. I mean, like, that cat was gnarly. Did you see the picture of like the stitching afterwards on Myra's forehead?
Not looking good.
It's gnarly, dude. Holy shit. Credit to her for wanting to keep fighting. I mean, your skull is practically exposed, and she's like, no, I'm ready to go. And I believe her.
Dude,
I believe her. She would have did it.
She's a gangster. I know a lot of people don't like her because of her attitude, but I like her. I mean, she's a fighter, man. But it was funny because I talked about this on the Anaheim episode, but she walked by leaving and came over and, like, shook my hand, and she was still, like, complaining, like, not complaining, but just being like, I don't know why they stop it. I could have fought, but she shook my hand. And I always make it a point, like I've said this before, but I don't video or film fighters that lost as they're walking by.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the guy that in your lowest moment, in your worst time, I'm sticking an iPhone in front of your face so I can get content for the internet. You know what I mean? I don't like it. Maybe if it's like a controversial decision and I want to get your thoughts or something like that, but I just don't do it as a whole. So she walked up and shook my hand, but she's literally right in front of me, and that cut is just right in front. And I'm like, oh my God, it is so. And you're trying not, you're trying not to look like, like, oh my God, and so she feels okay. She's like, I don't know, whatever. Like, oh my God, that was bad. But yeah, I did see the stitching photos in gangster, man. And as I said, Macy Chasson deserves a lot of credit, right? I mean, because she was losing that fight, you know what I mean? But she came out and got the moment and turned things around, and good for her, man. She, you were there at the media day where she talked about the fact that, like, she was thinking about quitting the sport, and I love the fact her story about Safe was so great. Safe she was like, yeah, I think I'm done. He just laughed at her. It's like, you're not done. You got more. Like, oh, that is so Safe right there, right? Like, nah, you're not quitting. You're at your lowest. I'm walking away like, no, you're gonna keep fighting. So I thought that whole thing was great.
Get blood. I'm glad she didn't get blood on you, man. Like, I'm sure they put some of that whatever shit they put on to make it not just openly gash everywhere, but that was gnarly. Because that's what because that's what Dana and them, when you saw her like go over and try to talk with them, I think, was it Ari that was next to him or something? You see them backing up. You saw them moving their chairs because they were like, young lady, you're spewing blood. Like, get the fuck away. Like, it was absolutely ridiculous. So, but no, that was like, I mean, and I guess lastly, I mean, it was a good card, good stuff. But I mean, MVP and Ian Machado Gary's fight. I mean, I thought that was a really good fight, and I mean, Paige was putting on him. I mean, it came out to Ian's favor, but I was a little surprised at how much bravado Ian was trying to carry at the end. I was like, dude, you were getting beat.
It's close.
The only time that you were taking is when you got him on his back. You found you had his kryptonite. MVP's kryptonite is you get him on the ground and you make it into a grappling clinch battle. Like, if it's on the feet, oh my God, MVP looked so quick.
Good.
He looked amazing. I was like, holy hell, there it is. We're gonna see Ian lose, and he fucking pulled it out, man. It was a great fight. It was one I was on the edge of my seat the whole time watching that fight.
I'm so glad you said that, man. I'm telling you right now, I've seen so many people just shitting on this fight. I thought it was a tense fight. I mean, granted, it wasn't,
Yeah.
Griffin Bonner in terms of like crazy, wild, whatever. You know what I mean? It's not a fight of the year, but the little subtleties in there and the tension that was in there, I really enjoyed the fight. And I saw a lot of people saying like Gary stock drops. I don't think Gary stock drops, and I definitely don't think MVP stock drop. I mean, MVP, he fought out of a really bad situation. So I'm so glad, because I thought I was on this island over here of thinking that it was a very, very intriguing fight. Like, again, not fight of the year material, not I'm going to go back and watch it over and over, but the tension and the little subtleties in there, man, I enjoyed that fight a lot.
See, that's weird. That's credit to me for not reading other people's shit, because I don't see those stupid comments. But I mean, and when just like you said with like the tension, because it felt, you knew if it was like, there was that point where you knew if it was standing up, and if Ian was like, all right, I want to try to stand, I want to try to do this and not try to do the other thing, you felt like, okay, the fight's going to go one way. But when he was choosing, it was chess. We were watching chess. The fact that he took it and then knew he wanted to get to the weakness of MVP, taking his back. And then the whole time you're like, oh, is MVP going to be able to get out of this? I want to see him separate. I want to see him striking again. Like, he was having good effect on the feet. So like, there was that anticipation of always the next moment of what was going to happen, that if he could break away from these, clinches and all this other stuff. So for me, I was at the edge of my seat thinking like, fuck, if he gets separated, and then he starts piecing him up, and then, because he was hurting Ian with some of those big shots on the feet. I was like, oh my gosh, we could see him getting knocked out. So then I was anticipating, hoping to see that. And then, so I loved it. So that mean the tension, everything. So no, I mean, for people to say that the stock, why in the world would Ian stock drop for being able to win a fight against a guy that was clearly beating him on the feet, and he took massive shots, to have the wherewithal to get, take the fight to where he needed to go and then maintain it. I mean, I
honestly,
think it's fantastic. You got to give him credit for that.
Honestly, I think it just boils down to people just not liking Ian, so they're not going to give him credit for anything. You know what I mean? They're not going to give him credit for anything. He's a fake Conor McGregor. The stuff about, like, I don't even want to get too far into it, but like the stuff with his wife, like, why is that? I don't even understand why. Like, I do not care about people's personal life. You know what I mean? Like, that's not what I'm covering this for. I'm covering these athletes. Like, I don't care what they do. I just don't even understand why that becomes such a storyline. You know what I mean? I don't get it. So, all right. Look, I won't even go down that road. So, put a bow on UFC 303. Met Thomas Dunscombe, which was super cool. He came up and said hello, one of our longtime listeners and supporters. So it was super cool of him to come say hello. So appreciate him doing that.
You sent that message that you came down. I was like, dude, if he comes down again, tell him I said hey. But I knew it was a one and done. But that was still pretty cool.
It was cool, man. Cool. I was excited to meet him. Yeah, I messaged you right away. So that was cool to meet him. And then also, it got brought up, and I saw that you answered this again over at patreon.com/MMA Roadshow. So if anybody ever wants to join in and be over there and be part of the conversation. But I saw that you chimed in on this. So I wanted to bring it up here because I know it's a wider audience than sees this over at Patreon. But basically, it was brought up from Dukes of Frank, which, by the way, amazing, one of the best usernames of all time, Dukes of Frank. But he was talking about the Peyton Talbot interview that Peyton did with Ariel Helwani, and I think it went kind of viral that he got kicked out of the arena. And it was funny because I've been off with my family the last couple of days, so I didn't see this comment, and so I appreciate you addressing it. But I had the same thought. Like, when I saw that comment, I kind of wrote it off. And I guess I probably shouldn't have wrote it off because it did go viral, and a lot of people think that Peyton Talbot got kicked out and that the UFC, as a matter of course, kicks fighters out after they're done fighting. And not only did you know that that's not the case, but then you also did a little verification and did some reporting. Look at you growing, my man. Look at you adding skills to the table. But that's not the case.
Off the record reporting, sort of. Exactly. Off the record, but here I am going to talk about it.
but here you go. But finding some information, and you spoke to some people, but you and I both knew this to be true. That fighters do get tickets as part of their contract. Every fighter on a card gets tickets to that card. The question is, what do they do with those tickets? Because if they give those tickets away, or if they sell them, or whatever the case may be, they're no longer entitled to a seat. And some people may say, well, that's ridiculous. Why would they kick him out? Well, we didn't kick you out. we gave you tickets that were for you to use to watch the fight.
Yep.
And if you chose not to use them, then yes, at that point, we can't just have you hanging around. Like there's so many bodies and security and all. I mean, all these things that go into. I mean, you see now. Heck, we've even seen.
Yep.
The way it's evolved with our security badges now, right? Like now for our media passes, not only do we have a media credential, but when we go to different parts of the venue, they have this little scanner because there's like I think they call it an RID. Is that what it's called? RFD,
something like that. Yeah.
Something like. But there's a piece of technology in there. And not only do you have to visually show that you have a credential, you have to scan your credential, which then brings up your photo and proves that you because certain credentials have access to different areas, right? I mean, like they have the staff credentials have access to places that our media credentials don't. Even within the media credentials, there's some that only access the overhead or wherever. So we have to do that. So anyway, it all just boils down to security. The fighters aren't getting kicked out, but if they give away their tickets, then and if they want to, I mean, I get it. Like you want to give it to your family member, or you want to give it to whatever, but then you gave up your seat as well. So I'm not. I didn't see the whole interview in context. Again, I've been with my family, so I didn't see the whole interview. So I don't know how much of it explained, but I did see a little bit of the viral clip. But I love the fact that you explained here, and I wanted to let you comment on that as well. But I don't know. I just wanted to offer some clarification. Again, I'll never try to say, hey, everything the UFC does is perfect. You know, there's something, but they look out for the fighters. You know what I mean? But if you don't follow the system, then they're kind of they can't just create seats for you out of thin air.
Yep. And we've heard from fighters before that have said the same sort of thing, like, hey, they took me right to a car and I had to leave after I did my media obligations, and then it goes away. This just happened to come out on one of the huge platforms, you know, like, because we've seen fighters say this on Twitter before and say other little things, and then people sort of forget about it. But I mean, you explained it perfectly. You know, they have tickets. They're not kicking them out of the venue. They have the means to stay there. But what they're trying to do is remove them from the back area where they're loitering, where they're causing an issue, where people can't pay attention. All the security guys, they can't remember who all the coaches, all the corners, all your little entourage that you maybe were able to get back in there with you before you had your fight. So they try to remove them from the equation. And that at that point is when you would take your tickets and you would go to your seats and sit. But most people either sell your tickets or give them away, like you said. And in your contract, if you did have more tickets, say if you normally have, you know, say you're one of the higher up guys or gals, or you can, you know, possibly, you know, warrant more tickets, that's all worked out in your contract. So they all get something. But just most fighters assume that I can give my tickets to my buddy, or I can sell my tickets and I'm going to be able to just kind of go and hang out. Back in the day, and I think they stopped it around 2015, 2016-ish area, somewhere along those lines, fighters, up to that point, fighters were still getting little wristbands. They would have tickets, but they would also have a little wristband, and the wristband allowed them to go up to the stands. They could get drinks, they could go to their seats, but they could also go back behind and then hang back out in the back. As the thing grew and as security and as things became warranted, and as they realized, hey, maybe we shouldn't just allow people to just roam in and out of secure areas willy-nilly and just trust a little band. So they kind of got rid of it. And like you said, now the name cards are so much more technically advanced that they just they don't leave those gaps like they used to. And so if a fighter gets upset because, hey, you can't hang out in the back anymore, go to your seat or get them out. I mean, like, you know, if you really wanted to, they're allowed to shower. If there's I believe I'm going to say most of them have showers, because we've seen fighters come to the press conferences afterwards showered and in their suits. So you can go back, and he even said in the interview he went back and he was able to change clothes and whatever. More than likely, if he didn't have media to do, he probably could just sit in the media in the what do you call it? The
green room?
The locker room.
Yeah.
The locker room, or like the green room. But who wants to do that and just sit in a smelly room, you know, watching somebody else waiting to get into a fight? You know, most of them want to go out and around. But if you go to the media, the 10 afterwards, at that point, they don't want you to just go back in the building and just loiter in the background, because there's nowhere for you to go. There is no green room. There is no old room that was serving ice cream or anything for them to kind of hang out. That room doesn't exist anymore. So at that point, you would go to your seats. And if your seats are not available, then you go away. But you don't bitch about it. It's just part of it. It's just kind of weird. But I bet if somebody asked him, did you get tickets and what did you do with your tickets? And he says, well, I gave them to my friend or whatever. And there it is, So it's nothing new. The only thing is they've just adjusted the security for the times. I mean, and already, even when you go back through the back, there's partners that are doing interviews. There's already the stuff, the staff for the venue. It's very cluttered. It's very, it's a security person's nightmare back there. So the last thing you want to do is just have random people walking around and then make you have to say, because you can't watch this area over here if you're asking every other person you see, hey, who are you, or what are you doing back here, or whatever.
Well, because you made a great point earlier. Like, first of all, and I'll be honest, it's hard to remember what all 700 athletes on the roster look like, just instant recognition, right? But if you say, hold on, there's 700 athletes on the UFC roster, it's your job to know who these people are. Okay, fine. It's not necessarily easy, especially when it's somebody new or that hasn't been around. I mean, obviously, Andrei Arlovski walks by, everybody recognizes him, you know what I mean? But somebody that just came off the Contender Series or whatever, the staff may not know who they are yet. But then when you add in exactly what you said, the coaches, the training part, all the other people with them, you're not going to know all those people. Like, you're just not. And so, as you said, it's a security person's nightmare back there to try to do that. And let's not even think about, okay, one, it's just, okay, we don't need all these wise men. But two, let's not forget, like, people have beef and say things and do things, and they're a bunch of alpha males that are highly emotional after wins or losses, and now you're talking about them interacting with each other, and you're trying to monitor the 18,000 people out front to make sure nothing's happening there. You know what I mean? So it's just like, that's why it's that way. So I don't know. I could see how people would be like, I just think it's garbage. Like, if a dude just fought, he just went in there and risked his life and won a fight, you should find a seat for him. It's like, well, we did. That's why we gave you the ticket. You know what I mean? And I understand you gave it away, but now at that point, what are we supposed to do? So, like I said, I can't defend the UFC on every single thing they do, but this is one where I thought people were kind of unnecessarily piling on and saying, look, they tried to look out for you. You know what I mean? But you got to know.
It is what it is. People forget about it just like all the other times that it happens.
It'll move on. All right,
it's certainly not the first time it's happening. It won't be the last time we hear about it.
And it won't be the last. It won't be that. All right, well, something else that I don't know. It's funny. So I definitely wanted to talk to you about this. Once I knew that you were in Anaheim, and once I saw this thing unfold, but I'm also a little bit conflicted on it, right? Because you're there, of course, for Masvidal versus Diaz boxing match this Saturday on pay-per-view on UFC Fight Pass, which I thought was interesting to see them as a partner as well. Now, you still have to pay for it. It's not part of your subscription if you're already subscribed. Mm-hmm. Exactly. But, I mean, listen, this is a delayed date, a move date. They've done a ton of press conferences. We know that neither one of these guys are really want to be at the press conferences no much, especially Nate Diaz. But they've done
as
all
highlighted
these
yesterday when he decided not to show up at the beginning of it.
That's
and they
amazing.
Waited forever, ever, and ever. I think it finally started probably almost an hour after.
Oh,
but
my gosh.
And even when that happened, Nate still wasn't there. And Chris Avila, which I guess they must Uber together or they ride together. It's like, I get it, your boys. I get it that Nate can show up late, but come on, Chris. Like, show up, dude.
You don't get that privilege.
You don't get that privilege. You just look weird, like not showing up until he gets there.
To be honest with you, I thought Nate might not show up at all. So I was actually kind of surprised. I saw the reports earlier. I'm like, dude, he's not showing up. There's no way he's going to go there. But he did finally show. And then we get to this thing, the streamer Neon, and this is why I'm conflicted, because on the one hand, I really don't even want to give it more attention. Now, it's obviously the most viral thing that happened at the press conference. It's what everybody's talking about. I wonder how much of it, I don't want to say it's staged, but you wonder how much involvement there was. And I don't know. I don't know. You were there, but I hate this shit. I absolutely hate it that people come in there and I get it. Everybody's a content creator now. There's less media now than there is content creators / influencers, you know what I mean, that are interjecting themselves as part of the story, and I get it, they're doing that, but I don't know, man, just to go in there and to be, I find it incredibly disrespectful to just be like, hey, man, when you get knocked out, etc. I don't know, man. You were there.
Yeah.
What was the vibe? Because I hate this stuff, and I hate even talking about it because I feel like even giving it energy just encourages more people to do it. Like I think like when people run onto the field or whatever, right? And the sports broadcast like won't show
Yeah.
that person, right?
Yeah.
Because they don't want to encourage more people to do it.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of what I feel like here is like you're almost better to not talk about it so that you don't encourage other people to act a fool like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't want to not address it because I just think I think you're being a jackass. And I think what people forget sometimes, man, is this is a sport and we love it. We love it as a sport, but dudes are literally putting their life on the line and their health on the line.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, for our entertainment. And we've all kind of addressed that and deal with it and think of it, but I don't know, man. Because of what they're doing, like I feel like they command a certain level of respect where you don't have to go be a jackass like that and say something like that. So I don't know. You got to see it firsthand. What was your thoughts of all this craziness?
Well, first it was crazy because I mean, like one, Masvidal was so just you could tell he was just irate, waiting around, trying to do this thing. I mean, I think we've seen Nate didn't want to do these things. I mean, obviously showed up late. The last press conference, he said he was already kind of over it. So the answers you were getting from Nate and Jorge were just like, Jorge was just wanting to go get his cheeseburgers. He's like, I'm sick of this. I'm just ready for a fight. I don't want to be here. Nate, was short answers, wasn't giving much. Brian, poor guy, trying to moderate the whole thing, and trying to talk with all the other ones. He's reading off his script, and there's a couple of times where he's like, oh, well, we would go to Chris, but Chris is not here yet. So let's move on to the different other ones so you can sell that he was just reading down the sheet. And because I was thinking, I was like, bro, you don't have to tell us that you're going to skip over. Just skip over and go to the next one. But I was, but that's how I think, credit to him, that was an awkward position for him to have to be in. But that's, so we weren't getting much from the main fighters. And so when they finally went to the media, I was really, by the time it even got to the point where they're opening up to the media, you could already tell that Jorge and Nate wanted to get off the stage. I was like, dude, are we going to get a face off again? I was like, let's just do that. Don't even toss it to media because both of these guys want to leave. So when they tossed it to the media, the first question went to a different guy. It was like to Garcia's brother. The second question went to like a different boxer. I was like, so the media is not even going to ask Jorge and Nate anything? And then it went to this little fucking worm Neon dude, and then he buttered up Nate first with just a little, hey, talk about the people, blah blah blah, like a little entry level question just to get him talking. And then he threw out that little bit. It's like when we watched the Jake Paul fight when you had Derek from Better, that little fucking worm, when he just tried to talk about fighting shit. So then you got this Neon kid, the same kid that was trying to talk to Sean O'Malley about having a threesome with him, over here like trying to actually have the gall to fucking talk to Nate about like, what are you going to do after you get knocked out? Knowing he's like 20 years old. He must weigh about 98 pounds. He's about 5'2". He's a little fucking midget, but he's got a camera guy behind him that looks like he's probably about 240, 250, probably about 6'3". He's got a guy next to him that is a plant that looks supposed to be looking like a media that was his buddy and bodyguard, whatever. If you watch the footage of when he runs, some of the guys that came out to chase after him, I noticed this other dude that was outside that ran into and threw his body in front of one of the guys chasing. He wasn't inside the media room. So the kid went there with probably 8 to 10 different fucking little entourage.
Wow.
So you want to start drama, but then as soon as he got done off the mic, he starts scurrying away and running towards, like making movement towards the front door to like get out of the room. I'm like, if you're there really to like talk and get views and do whatever, like, don't just run away. Like if you're just doing a bit and then you fucking your bit's done and then you scurry away from the room because the ramifications of your bit are about to happen, then you're just full of shit. You're just there to cause a scene, so you deserve whatever scene is thrust upon you for doing that sort of shit, And I hope the kid gets what's coming to him, This is the same kid that got in trouble in Abu Dhabi for filming when they told him not to film. And he kept filming, and I think he got arrested, and then eventually I think they just let him go or whatever. So the kid has a habit of like putting his nose and doing shit for clicks and whatever. And this kid down the line he's gonna cross a line somewhere. I don't think this is particularly that. I mean, to the point of where somebody's going to really try to probably harm the kid. This one, he might get his ass beat, but that's fine. You deserve it. That's not a big deal.
100%.
You do
And I would
stupid
not
shit,
fault
you get
them at
your
all.
ass beat.
Yep.
But this kid seems to be exhibiting habits in areas where you don't do that shit. Like, I wouldn't do that shit in Abu Dhabi or wherever. Like, they tell you not to film. Bro, stop filming. You don't fuck around in other countries like that. So, I mean, who knows? I just feel like this kid one day is going to do something he can't come back from. But in this instance, I just thought it was just so fucking just ridiculous. You got a big camera guy behind you, got security hidden and whatever, and then you want to try to come out there and talk a big game. Like, bro, come on. Like, and then, but people love this little shit. But I mean, I don't know. I was fired up. I was like, who is this little fucking worm? And as soon as I saw him, I was like, why have I seen his face? Why do I know this guy's face? And then I figured out he was the kid that was talking to O'Malley about threesomes and was like asking to try to join or something. I was like, so I don't know. He's fucking weird.
I don't
weird
get it,
kid.
man. I guess, hey, maybe we're just out of touch with the generation or whatever. But
Well,
I don't like it, man.
The promotion should have known what this kid was about and never given him a mic. They gave him a mic. I mean, granted, there wasn't much media stepping up because it was just sort of awkwardly happening. They should have known, like, this kid is just he's a bit. I mean, like, don't give him a mic.
Yeah, he should never be credentialed. He should never be credentialed to anything else ever again. You know what I mean? Like, if you act like that, you should never be anything. But then you wonder, does the promotion, do people around and go, well, there's no such thing as bad press. Like, this is, we got people talking. Like, this is good. You know what I mean?
Well, I know when you try to put your application, they say in the thing, we're going to check out your site. We're going to check to see what you do. And if we have questions, we'll reach out to say whether they want a credential. So if you're going to try to put in the credential application, like, hey, we're going to check your body work to make sure you're legit, who didn't do the work on that one? Unless they knew what they were getting. And again, bad press is good press. If they knew that what they were getting, then I can't fault them because they obviously got what they wanted. But I feel bad for the fighters that are subject to it because of it.
Yeah, that's a great point, right? Like, yeah, dude. Like, just I don't know, man. I hope this stuff goes away. Like, I don't know, man. I guess I mean, like, do people love this content? Like, yeah, you told him, bro. That's I don't know, man. Like,
20-year-old kids, maybe they do. Maybe 20-year-old little fucking kids do. Like, maybe that's his market. Because you'll have people like Sean Strickland that say these weird little fucking kids, there's no ramifications for when they do stupid shit. That's why you got to fucking take it and give them that. Because they say everybody's getting away with everything these days. So maybe all these little 20-year-olds think, hey, I can go talk to a guy that's very scary and that has great, that could literally choke me out and I could talk shit and he's not going to do anything. He can't do anything. And it's like,
I hate that.
Not the right mentality. Yeah, it sucks.
It's
infuriating.
It's the number one piece of advice that, like, I've always tried to give people over the years. They're like, oh, I'd like to do what you do. I want to get that. My main thing has always been: do not write, do not say, do not post on social media anything that you would not be willing to say to somebody's face. You know what I mean? Like, if you aren't willing to look that person eye to eye and levy this criticism or levy this assessment or whatever it may be, then don't put it out in the media like that, because you need to be responsible for what you say, to your credit. You know what I mean? Like, you need to be willing, like, you need to know that, yeah, you can say what you want, but I can also beat your ass. How about that? You know what I mean? So
a kid says it with, like, multiple security, because I saw people in the comments saying, like, well, good on him saying something that these soy boy reporters won't say to one of these guys, asking the hard questions. I'm like, bro, he's not asking a hard question. He's teeing up a thing, and he's got 15 fucking security behind him. That's not being strong. That's not being, he's not scared. Bro, he's setting him up, but he knows that if a fight breaks out, he's not going to be the one fighting. It's going to be all of his fucking dudes and the security. Like, don't get it twisted. It's not the same shit as you saying something and you living up to your words. Yep. When you got some dude, you got some big hulk of a dude that when you come over to talk to me about what I've said, or I come over to talk to you about what you said, and your security guy steps in front, that's not the fucking same. That's not the same.
That's crazy.
That's just being a little bitch and having security do your fighting for you.
I
hope the security's with him all the time, because the kid's going to keep doing something at some point. Maybe he's got the money to pay for security 24/7, because you do this sort of stuff, you're going to need it at some point. You're gonna need it.
I don't like it, man. It needs to go away, and I hope that other promotions don't look at that. I mean, I hope they right away, like you said, man. Somebody applies for credential, like, no, you acted like a jackass on our fighters, and I don't want you there. You know what I mean? And again, I'm not hating on a dude for like these guys that have figured out like YouTube streaming, content creation, are making a ton of money off it. Like, good on them. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not hating on a dude for this quote unquote new media or whatever the case may be. Like, good on him, but you don't have to be a jackass to people, man. You just don't. So. Yeah. I didn't like it. So, other than that, like I said, that ended up being the biggest story by far, of course. But other than that, I guess the vibe, the feel. I mean, does it feel like a big fight? I mean, it's obviously two big names, but I still don't know how to take this fight, right? Because it's still two dudes that, I mean, obviously legends of the game. I like both the dudes, but I don't know. It's weird. Like, I don't know why. Like, in a boxing match, I'm like, well, what does that prove? Like, what does that mean? I don't know. It lives in a weird place in my head, because if you told me these guys were fighting MMA, I'm making sure I'm still gonna watch on Saturday night. Guess where I'm gonna be? I'm gonna be sitting in front of my TV watching this fight. So I'm into it, but I don't know. Like, I just feel like the stakes are not the same because it's a boxing match, and like it really doesn't matter. Like, you could, I don't know. It's weird to me. So I don't know. What's the feel for you? Because I'm having a hard time comprehending why I'm not as fired up as I think I should be for this, and I think it's just because it's boxing and not MMA.
That's it. And when I saw, like even you go to Tapology, it says like Diaz versus Masvidal 2, and I'm like, okay, yes, it is the same combatants, but this isn't the rematch of what we saw before. Like, it feels like we have a different name for it because it's a boxing match,
Right.
I'm interested to see what it's going to feel like in the room tomorrow for the weigh-ins when there's actually going to be fans. As for like the media day, or sorry, the press conference, it was just kind of a weird vibe because one, we sat around in the room for an hour waiting for it to happen. There was no big crazy excitement, rush waiting for it, because I think by the end you could tell that the fighters and everybody up on the stage was tired of promoting it. And if they're tired of promoting it, why should I still feel excited? But I am excited to see these two, knowing that they are going to get in the cage and they're going to throw down. They're going to do what they do. I know that both guys are going to go in there and honestly want to beat the shit out of each other. So it's like, I know what's going to happen when they get in there. But yeah, having it being a boxing match and not an MMA fight where there's many more weapons for them to use, it does kind of feel like you're watching a handicapped fight that they normally would do. It's just like, take this away. Don't give me elbows. Don't give me this. Don't give me this. And it's like, okay, well, it'll still be fun because it's character A, which I like, character B, which I like, and they're going to punch each other in the face.
Right.
As for other fights on the card, even the Anthony Pettis and Chris Avila, I'm like, so I don't, outside of having respect for them for what they did in MMA, I mean, especially Anthony, I just don't care to see them box. I mean, like, I'm glad all the fighters are making money and all that. They're going to get great money. Good for them. But as for, am I excited to be there watching it? Not really.
It's weird, right?
It's a one fight card for me. I'm excited to see, Masvidal and Diaz do the thing. But as for the rest of it, I'd rather watch, if I was going to be at a boxing event, I'd rather it be like a super high level boxing. If you're going to make me have to watch boxing, a Canelo, Triple G, Anthony Joshua, Tyson
Jake
Fury.
Paul.
Jake Paul, 100%. I'd rather be at one of those fights than, hey man, as your future champ, man, you just got to get on the boat, man. Jake Paul, man, he's the future of boxing. Stop fighting that. Stop fighting it.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. It's weird. I almost feel guilty saying that, like, I'm not as excited as I think I should be. But again, because I love both these guys and I love their accomplishments, and like I do love the fact that you're right. You're like, they do hate each other and they do want to punch each other in the face, and so that'll be fun. But yeah, I don't know, man. Just with it being a boxing match, it's like it doesn't. It's not like anybody's getting a belt. I don't know. It just doesn't. It's weird to me, man. I don't know why. I feel like I should be more excited than I am.
Well, they should seem like they're more excited than they are as well. You could definitely tell that they have fatigue. They're tired of the press tour. They're tired of the press tour, and we even saw that when even when Mayweather and McGregor did their press tour. It's asking a lot of the fighters to go and do the circus show over and over again. And at some point they're like, dude, I can only say the same thing over and over. Like, let's just get to it and fight. But, obviously, maybe ticket sales, maybe they feel that they needed to do another press conference. It's fight week. Why wouldn't we do a press conference? Because it's fight week. You kind of typically do that. It just feels so close to the last press conference, But yeah, I mean, I think fight night, the excitement will definitely drum up, just like it does all fight nights. There's something about being in the space. You get caught up in the moment. There's something sort of primal that kind of awakens it. But just right now during the fight week, I'm like, it's just kind of meh because that's what you're getting from the fighters. They didn't even stick around to do like the photos at the end. Like George was just over it. He was hungry. He dipped. Nate didn't stick around. Once he saw that George was gone, he was like, I'm leaving. And then we're like taking videos. Even Chris left again. I'm like, come on. Chris is just like, where are we going? Nate, where are we going? He didn't even stick around for the photos at the end. So here we are shooting all these other guys boxing. And I'm just like, what are we shooting? Like, what is going on? Like, this is so weird. Like, the banner says this and this. And none of them are up there. And I'm like, why are we shooting this? Why are we still have these guys up there standing in front for photos? And it's funny. Then they're like, media, fighters, we're going to have some fighters available for interviews if you want to chat. And they come over and they're like, so do you want to grab any of the fighters for interviews? I was like, nope, because the ones I wanted are already gone.
They have already left the building. By the way, who's there? Media-wise, I'm assuming is traditional boxing media there, or is it mainly just like MMA and SoCal people?
Yeah, I've seen some. Yeah, I've seen some. Like the fight hype people are here. I saw Anthony Walker was here.
Nice.
That was cool. Fighting's here. Interesting enough. So you have like the MMA guys. Even Mania, MMA Weekly was here. Full Send is here. But then there were obviously some boxing media, but there wasn't as many that I've seen in past at some of the big like boxing events. I'm assuming they'll show up.
I'm sure the holiday.
I'm sure they'll find on fight night.
Yeah,
I think they'll come out fight night. I think it's just a matter of they're probably a little fatigued of doing this tour thing again as well. Because the last presser wasn't that long ago. So I think they're just like
they've done multiple press conferences and it is a holiday as well. So it's probably a little slow. What's funny is last week. I think you were there, but I think it was just me and Oscar Willis and Jose Youngs were talking when the press schedule for this week came out, and even though I wasn't attending, I was still on the email list. So we were looking at the press schedule, and it was like, that's weird. Why is Thursday off? Like, why would you have an off day in the middle of a fight week? And it's like, I didn't realize until this week. Yeah, it's 4th of July, you dumbass. Yeah. Like, that's how much our life is just like around fights and nothing else. And I was like, how bizarre. And both of them looked at me, and I guess Oscar Willis gets a free pass because he's not American, but I guess, it's just like, that is weird. Why would they have a Thursday off? That makes no sense. So it was, it kind of comically made me laugh when I realized, oh, yeah, that was 4th of July. That's the reason there's nothing on Thursday.
Well, but what's silly is like, even if there was something in the morning, knowing that we always work and half the time it's always on holidays and other stuff too, there's like, never feels like a day off. I honestly wouldn't have batted an eye if there was like, If there was something this morning, like say if the press conference wasn't yesterday and it was this morning, I'd be like, cool, I'll just go watch fireworks at night.
I know. That's what we do, right? We just do this
so now. So now I'm just like, okay, what am I going to do today? So I'm glad that we got this taping, so I'll get this done and get this pushed out. But then I think I might go down by Huntington Beach maybe. I'm trying to figure out something to do. Just try to find some places to eat and just hang out and maybe watch the fireworks later on.
Go watch fireworks somewhere. Yeah, you got to be close to Disneyland. They do fireworks like every night. They got to do something for 4th of July, right?
There, and I actually thought about maybe trying to go over there. There's this downtown Disney area. I might try to go, but you know me, man. I don't know if I want to go over there and be stuck around thousands of people all clamoring to watch the fireworks and then get stuck over there. So I'm like, can I watch it from a distance? Find a place I can see it still, but not be all up in with like thousands of people in my space.
That's funny.
So
that is.
So we'll see. But then I hear the beach area that you can see some as well. So I don't know if I've been by Huntington Beach. So I might go over there for lunch today, and then kick it a little bit. But then I think I might go by that Disney downtown area, and then if I find a good spot, hang out and then do the fireworks. But I don't know. It's still up in the air. But
We're trying to figure it out too.
Yeah, I know. It's just like
we're trying to figure it out. What do we do?
What do we do?
It's funny. So one of the things that's cool about living in Las Vegas is it's just it's a big valley, right? And so where my house is. It's kind of on one of the higher sides, like it's moving up the mountain. So actually, if you go to like an open clearing, there's like the park by my house, you can see a whole lot of the Las Vegas Valley. And so it's actually kind of cool because you can see like multiple different fireworks. I mean, they're from a distance, but it's kind of pretty. Like it's kind of cool to see like 10 different fireworks presentations going on in different places or whatever. Yeah. So we might do that.
And then all the neighborhoods.
Oh, and then
like everybody's letting off fireworks. It's been going on for days. My poor dog's already. My pet sitter was like, Kane had an accident. I was like, yeah, probably because of fucking people letting off fireworks. Been doing it for days.
We do have some local fireworks presentations of a grand scale. That's for sure. Actually, the Durango Hotel, the newest Station Casinos hotel, they're supposed to be shooting them off too. So we may go over there. So yeah, right down the street. So
that's cool. Yeah, and that's what I was bummed that I'm not there because this year I actually wanted to go by the train tracks where I normally walk in the mornings because you could see the whole strip perfectly and you have a great like 360 view of the valley. And I was so stoked. I hadn't done it. I was like, this year I'm going to do it. And then they're like, no, you're going to Anaheim. So.
By the way, I appreciate your construction updates. I appreciate your construction updates on social media. I didn't know they were. I didn't know they were actually fine. I mean, this means nothing to anybody that doesn't live in Las Vegas. But that Jones and Blue Diamond interchange, I've lived in this house since 2012. It's so weird because it's like they half built an interchange and have just left it. And then I had no idea they were actually complete. But thanks to your social media, I know that they are actually finishing off the exchange of Jones and Blue Diamond, which, by the way, will make it even faster for me to get to your house, I think, because I'll no longer have to go through back streets.
It's going to be game changer. It is so. It's been unique kind of watching it because it was like, you used to go and you would see where it says Jones, but there was no road. It was just a sign to a complete drop off of a bridge. And you're like, okay, that's weird. And so they're finally making moves on it. And it's funny because I've seen them laying the groundwork for it, and I see the ramp starting to get built from the ground side from the Jones, and then you would see these pillars where they were good. The road was eventually, but I was trying to imagine. I was like, how is it going to curve? How's it going to go? And now they're finally at the part where you could start to see the curve. You could see it start to take shape. It's coming along. So yeah, it's at the end of my walk. That's the turnaround part of when I take my walk.
Okay.
And then that's when I loop back. So it's a nice little 4.5 mile loop, but you could
4.5 miles. Wow.
Yeah. And if you go only a little further, you would actually put you under the construction. So I stopped just short of it because I already feel like I weird them out when they see me walking on that side because I walk next to the track. Like there's a path near the tracks and there's a path on the other side. Most people do the other side, but I like the side by the tracks because it's less dogs, less mess, less people or whatever.
Less people. I was going to say.
Less people. So, like, once you get down towards the end, then you're near all the construction. I think they're just like, whoa, what's this dude walking by the tracks? I always think that the train people probably think I'm going to try to hop on a train. But I'm like, bro, I'm not. I'm just getting steps in, dog. I'm just getting steps in.
Especially when your beard's all grown out and you're wearing they're just like, who is this homeless dude over here about to jump on the train and take a ride?
Take me somewhere. Yeah. It's funny. It's funny.
Hey,
but yeah, it's coming along. I'm glad you're tuning in for the construction updates. I'll be sure when I get back to give an update.
Let me know when Jones is over. Hey, last thing. I know you were busy, so I didn't know if you saw this, but even though I was with my family, I saw the Dricus Duplessis Israel Adesanya stare down. Did you see that one in the?
I did not. I saw a clip of it. I saw how they got very close and then would not. They wouldn't back out.
Back out.
Who is it? Pete.
Pete Klosko. Pete. By the way, Pete Klosko, what a story that is. I mean, that dude started off in like PR. Now he's like regional VP down there. You know what I mean? Like that dude is great. But yeah, poor guy was like,
we're done, guys. Guys, yeah. He's like, I'm just gonna wedge myself in here and see if I can kind of get it separate. And then you see him looking at the security, like, please help,
guys. Are you helping me out of here?
And then they turned forward. And then they finally turned forward, and then they still stared. I was like, this is awesome.
I'm excited because, first of all, I do love the fight. I do love the backstory. I did not love the in-cage exchange that they had. You know what I mean? I did not enjoy that. So I'm hoping that we're like just one level over that. So that face-off was what I needed, right? Like there was tension there, but it was like the good tension, not like the, oh my gosh, don't make us do this for a couple months. You know what I mean? So I just
no words needed.
Yeah,
like it was in their face. It was in the stares. Like you didn't need to talk shit. You didn't need to bring up, who's the real African and blah 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 blah. Like it literally was just like, I'm gonna stare at you. Like they were just staring holes in each other, and I loved it. Like I'd want to go back and look and see, like, did anybody even blink? I mean, It was like just such a long period. I was like, I don't even think boys remember to blink. They were just like,
eyes are just burning. They're like, I'm not gonna blink at all. I refuse to leave. That was so good though, man. And then they finally got them apart. And then even though they squared up facing forward, they were still staring at each other. And then Drinkins kind of went back to staring down. I mean, it was good. That's gonna be a great fight, man. That's gonna be
that fight's gonna be awesome. I'm excited for that one. As opposed to this weekend's fight, that fight's gonna be gangbusters. It's long overdue. We've been waiting
long
for
overdue. A while. Like I said, I'm super excited because it's tense, but we don't need that as tense as it was in the cage. But that was awesome. So, all right, well, listen, good. Appreciate you again rescheduling. Appreciate you spending some time with me on the 4th of July and giving up your holiday. And then I guess
America. I do this for America, John. I do this for America.
Happy birthday, America.
Happy birthday, America. Love you.
I did. I sent a message when I was scrolling social media this morning and just saw some random Twitter that was like, I don't even want to say it out loud, but it made me laugh because I sent it to Abby and Simon, our British friends, because it was like England. We are going to need to tax you more on this tea, and then it was like America. You can suck on my, and it was a picture of Star Spangled Ding Dongs. I don't know why. And then first of all, like I was embarrassed that it made me literally laugh out loud because I'm just never gonna grow up. Apparently, that just humor like that is always gonna make me laugh. But then I sent it to those guys because it made me laugh.
I like that. I didn't even see it, but it's fucking hilarious. I like it.
I will send it to you now, sir, so that you can enjoy it as well. So, all right, listen, I know you got to do a little editing and get this posted, and then you can go enjoy your holiday. I'm going to go try to enjoy my holiday the same. Hopefully everybody has a great weekend. Tune in some fights on Saturday. We'll be back together next week in Las Vegas. No and a half this weekend, but we appreciate everybody that supports us over at patreon.com/the MMA Roadshow. So if you can do that, it means the world to us. But anyway, just spending your time with us means the world to us. So to everybody out there, enjoy your holiday, and thanks for listening.